I actually had time to do a little yoga. Hi, welcome to Chronically Musical. My name is Alice and I am a professional classical violist as well as a chronically ill person, and this YouTube channel is a place where I share videos about both of those things. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy you stumbled upon my channel. So, alright, I'm currently sitting here editing this video and I have to issue a public apology on behalf of my hair. I genuinely thought it looks good, but for the duration of this video, it looks like I was caught in a tornado. Also, the weather was alternating between very cloudy and sunny, so the lighting in this video is also absurd. Anyway, carry on. I traveled recently, like on a plane, for the first time in a very long time. And genuinely, it was the smoothest experience I have ever had. From getting to the airport to going through security to getting to my gate 2 hours early, all of it was so smooth, and I think that is in large part due to me having taken my own advice that I'm going to share with you today in part 2 of my travel tip series, Traveling with Chronic Illness. If you missed part 1, you can hit this little link above my head somewhere and it'll take you to my video all about traveling with an instrument, specifically one that you can carry on with you. So like I just mentioned, today's video is all about what it's like to travel when you have a chronic illness. More specifically, what it's like to travel on a plane when you have a chronic illness, but hopefully these tips will be applicable to other modes of transportation. Now, traveling while healthy is a bit stressful for anyone. Traveling with a chronic illness, a bit more stressful. Traveling when you have an autoimmune disease that causes frequent urgent diarrhea at unexpected times, usually brought on by stress, kind of next level. But in all seriousness, I really hope that all of these tips will be helpful to you, even if you are someone who doesn't have chronic illness, because let's be real, traveling is really stressful for anybody. All right, so let's get started. Tip number 1 is to get there early, wherever there might be, whether it be an airport, a train station, a port, or a loading dock, or something boat related. I don't know. Wherever there is for you in your travels, get there early. Give yourself ample time. A number 1 trigger for my autoimmune diseases is stress. And even though I can't always control every stressful situation I might find myself in, I can take an active role in preventing extra stress from coming up. So I always give myself extra time whenever I need to get somewhere for traveling. Tip number 2 when you're traveling with a chronic illness is to bring a doctor's note. This is especially important if you're going to be carrying on medical supplies like an insulin pump or an IV or a nutrition bag. You may or may not actually need it, but you definitely don't want to get to the security checkpoint and have them questioning whether what you're carrying on the plane is actually medically necessary. Having a doctor's note can also be helpful when you're traveling with medication, which brings me to tip number 3, carry on your medication. So bring all of the things you might need during the course of your trip that you have to take every day, oral medication or otherwise, bring that in your carry-on with you. Now, if you don't want to carry on all of your medication, perhaps you have an insane amount, which is pretty common with those of us with chronic illness, do your best to bring a couple days worth on the plane with you just in case something happens to your checked baggage. You do not want to end up at your destination without your medications. That is just a recipe for disaster, and again, that's adding to the stress and anxiety of traveling that you don't need to add to. Now, I've tried a lot of different travel pill boxes in my time as a chronically ill person, and all of them are either too bulky and hard, too small, they don't have enough room for all my medications, or they contain labels that are just not relevant to what I need. But let me tell you, I have discovered the perfect traveling companion for chronically ill people to store medication of all time. It is called the MedPlanner from Mighty Well, and I am obsessed. Okay, so first of all, it is made from a hard nylon shell that keeps all of my medications from being squished. There's even room for my inhaler on the side here. It contains 7 easy to open pouches to store all of my medication. I had some curcumin 95 in that one, a little turmeric. And I can even customize the labels just using a dry erase marker. The great thing about it is it's kind of sleek and discreet, so you can carry it without putting it in your bag, and people aren't gonna know that you're walking around with medications in this thing. It just looks like a really, kind of like an electronics case, you know? It feels like I'm an important person and I have important work to do, you know? Anyway, this is like my new favorite travel companion. This is not an ad by any means, but I do have a discount code. AliceP10 gets you 10% off anything on the Mighty Well website, including this MedPlanner. They also sell really great masks if you're still the type of person who is not ready to see the bottom half of people's faces just yet, which is me. So you can buy a mask. They also have PICC line covers. They have gear, immunocompromised sweatshirts and t-shirts. Anyway, it's great. Code AliceP10 gets you 10% off. Link in my description box down below will take you to the website. Okay, moving on to tip number 4, which is to bring your own water bottle. Now, when I originally wrote out this list of tips, I wrote to bring a collapsible water bottle, because in the past I have brought this kind of a situation with me on an airplane. I bring it to the airport empty and then get through security and then fill it up at a water fountain. And it's got a straw here, okay? As you can see, great. The last time I traveled with this, I opened the straw on the airplane and proceeded to get the person in front of me soaking wet because the air pressure change in the plane caused the water in the straw to erupt uncontrollably, and it was mortifying. So I decided I was not going to travel with this kind of a water bottle again. And then I decided, oh, let me get a collapsible water bottle because it'll save room and I can keep it in my backpack until I get through security, all that good stuff. Ultimately, this was kind of a pain in the butt. It actually took up like a lot of space in my backpack. And once I uncollapsed it, I never recollapsed it because it's actually really kind of hard to do. So, case and point. It's kind of a pain. So anyway, I would just recommend to bring a non-straw empty water bottle with you to fill up. This is really helpful, especially if you have an early flight, because I always have to take medications in the morning, and my most recent flight was at about 8 a.m. So I needed to get to the airport, eat something, and then take my pills. And having my own water bottle so I don't have to spend $20 on a bottle of Dasani seemed like a better option. So tip number 4, bring an empty water bottle. Now this next tip is going to be a little bit contradictory to my previous travel tip video about traveling with your instrument, but this is sort of a pick your own adventure type situation, and my chronic illness usually takes precedence, so I'm gonna go with this one. This is the tip I follow. So tip number 5 is to pick an aisle seat. As a person with IBD and IBS and very unpredictable bowels, even at the best of times, an aisle seat is really one of the biggest gifts I can give to not only myself, but the other people in the rows around me. I just don't really like having to physically crawl over to other people multiple times during a flight to use the bathroom. It's uncomfortable and embarrassing, and chances are I'm gonna have to do it more than once, and I don't wanna have to sit there uncomfortably trying to like stretch out the time in between bathroom breaks so as to not bother the people next to me. It's not worth it. So I pick an aisle seat every time so that I have the freedom to get up and use the bathroom whenever I need to, get a drink of water, whatever. And ultimately that has served me well in my travels as a chronically ill person. So this last tip is less about physically flying or physically traveling with a chronic illness, and more just sort of a general thing that I really try and do whenever I'm doing something different than my normal schedule. So tip number 6 is to keep your routines consistent, whatever that means. So For example, on this most recent trip, I packed a travel yoga mat so that I could keep up with my workout routine, which has become essential to my physical and mental health. I also brought a bunch of chamomile tea to have before bed because that's something I do when I'm home. I even had the same white noise sound on to sort of replicate what I have when I'm in my own bed to make the sleeping process a little bit more comfortable, because sometimes when you're sleeping in a new place, it can really throw off your cycle, and sleep is really important for me as a person living with autoimmune disease. I even brought my own snacks. I wasn't sure what the food situation was gonna be like. I didn't know what restaurants I would be close to where I was staying, so I brought snacks. I brought a lot of food. I'm also a big snacker. If you haven't seen my paleo snack video, you can click above and you can go watch it. So I had a lot of snacks with me, a lot of like kind of not freeze-dried food, but just food that I could like add hot water to, like soups and things like that. I brought all that with me just in case. I ended up not actually eating most of it, but it was just helpful to know that I had it in case I needed it. And most important of all in keeping my routines consistent is keeping my sleep schedule consistent. So this was technically kind of a work trip. It wasn't really a vacation. So I made a really conscious effort to be back in my Airbnb early enough in the night so that I could have some quiet time, decompress, have that chamomile tea, and then went to bed and got up at the same times that I normally go to bed and wake up at. Again, trying to keep everything really consistent so my body isn't surprised by anything. Thankfully, I was traveling within the same time zone, so this made it really easy to stick to my normal sleep schedule. So traveling outside of the time zone I'm currently in would definitely be another sort of factor to factor in. But I would still make a really conscious effort to try and be as consistent as possible, because sleep is a really big thing for me. And it is a really big thing in keeping my body and my mind functioning normally. And again, especially because this was a work trip, it was an audition, it was just super important for me to be well rested so I could perform at my highest level every single day. All right, so those are my top tips for how I manage my stress and anxiety when traveling with a chronic illness. I don't remember how many they were, but those are the top ones. If you liked this video, let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more videos like this, I really appreciate all of the feedback you give me and the constructive criticism. It helps me create more content for you guys and get a sense of what my audience is actually wanting, because to be honest, I don't really know what you want, and I don't know what I'm doing. So leave a comment below, let me know what you think. Also, let me know if you have any travel tips of your own, whether you have chronic illness or not. I think with everybody getting out there more and all of the country reopening again, there's a lot of sort of inherent stress and anxiety coming along with that. At least I'm feeling it. So if you have any helpful suggestions on how to better manage that while traveling, drop them in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram at AlicePingViola. Thank you all again for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks, bye.